From Cowork 591 Studios, we are the Bohemian Reformation. This is the Steve Brown Arts Center podcast network with producer Blake Tempest and co-host Dale Reber and co-host Mike Farrell. I'm Jim Gillespie, and this is the Jesup News for November 4th, 2024. Now, obviously, this is live. What's the date, Dale?
It is November 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, 4th.
No, today is October 30th.
It is live. Yeah,
it
it's
is
October
live.
30th. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the first time you've remembered when we were
I
doing
know.
this for a
One
month.
of the few times.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not as mentally constipated as you thought.
We'll talk about that more later.
Okay, tonight we're sponsored by Mickey D's Pizza and Lobster. The Farrells are kind sponsors of this podcast, and we'd like to thank them. Mike's been a dear friend, been on with us at least 3 times. So thank you so much for being with us. Tonight, this is the 100 show, and we're going to talk about the importance of 100. We're going to talk about the beginning of the show and the 5 W's. We're going to talk to some old friends, and we look at the upcoming election as we're down to the final week. We talk about shows you watch over and over again and why you do it, and we look at upcoming shows. Weekly, we give the weekly update of the Steve Brown Arts Center and talk about the library a little bit. And we introduce a new member of the Steve Brown Arts Center. Remember, the Steve Brown Arts Center is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that has a vision for artists, young and old alike, to have the opportunity to better themselves while helping to build the skills of those around them. The long-range vision is to have a house, a rural artist residency program for professional and emerging artists in all areas of the arts and the humanities. Artists will be offered accommodations and studio space in exchange for a contribution of labor and maintenance of the building and grounds. So we have a number of interviews tonight, including a couple of people that are already in the studio.
They came early,
and we're going to start with a person that has been awful kind to the Steve Brown Arts Center, Kelly Fromm. Kelly, thanks for, excuse me, Kelly Seahouse.
Yeah, but yes, when you knew me back in the day.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Okay.
21 years ago,
Did you
almost,
really?
next weekend.
21
yes.
years.
Yes,
Wow.
thank you.
The first 20 years are the hardest, don't you agree? Or-
Yeah, for sure.
But now things are
Yeah.
rolling along
Yeah.
real well. Well, that's
Yeah.
good. So, yeah. So,
After 20 years, things got better.
yeah,
Finally.
they're better.
We were talking about that. Mark, if you're at home listening, you better have supper in the oven. Okay, well, Kelly, first off, we want to thank you and Cowork 591. You guys have been great hosts for us here at the studio and here at Cowork 591. We want to thank you so much.
Our pleasure.
Just for the audience a little bit, Kelly, tell us about Cowork 591 and what it does.
So we're a co-working space, which if you don't know what co-working is, it's a shared office space. So anybody that can work remotely or has a business where they can get out of the building once in a while can come here to work. We also have private offices they can use. This conference room we're in right now, you can rent out. We also are opening as an event space. So if you have a family get together, you have a bridal shower, anything like that you want to hold, we can do that in this space as well.
How's that worked? Have you had a number of people schedule events?
Yep. We've had bridal showers here a couple times. We've had different businesses that'll rent out the space for like group trainings, those types of things.
Yeah.
And really, it's very reasonable, isn't it, if you want to rent an office or something?
Yes. So the private offices are $10 an hour or $50 for the day. Mm-hmm. The conference room is $20 an hour or $100 for the day.
And so is this all in response to COVID when people were working at home and gave them a chance to get out and work somewhere else for a while? Or
the idea started before then, and we opened February 2020, and then COVID hit, which was kind of a blessing in disguise because we had a lot of workers that didn't have anywhere to go that would come here.
So and there's a school program, right, where kids come down and work here?
Yes, the Jesup CAPS program meets in the back room 2
Okay.
hours a day.
Okay.
So-
every day for
Yep.
2 hours? Okay.
Yep, they work on different projects for local businesses, professional skills.
And do you
those
have
types of
anything
things.
to do with that? Or are you in?
I try to help them out when I can.
Okay.
They'll ask me certain questions to help them. Like somebody had me read over an email today to make sure it sounded okay.
Yeah. So it's an
send out.
informal help kind of, or just
Yeah,
as
yep.
a mentor or whatever.
Yep.
Okay.
So Kelly, how is co-work financed besides members and rental and stuff? How is the building financed?
So we're owned by Heartland Technology.
Okay, all right. So and your boss is Sean Westfall, is
Yep,
that right?
yep.
Sean's Sean, I know, snuck out on us. We
He had fatherly duties to attend to, so yeah.
Sean, if you're listening, we know where you live. We'll get you on here. Sean's fitting in. He's been what? He's been in the position now almost a year.
Yes, formally for a year. It's
Yeah.
probably been closer to 2 years.
Yeah. Time goes by fast.
Oh, it
doesn't
does.
it?
Yep.
Yeah. And your family, we were talking about this before we went on the air. You've got a son that is in Asia right now.
Yes, he's in South Korea studying abroad.
How did he get set up? He was right out of high school. How did he get set up with that program?
Through you and I. So we went to orientation, and that was one of the topics was study abroad. And he loves to travel, so he looked into the program and he decided on South Korea. And so he's doing a semester there right now.
We had a Jesup graduate, Brad Bogue,
Okay.
that worked in South Korea. I thought he was teaching English, I think,
Oh, cool.
over there. And I think he was there 2 years, and he had his wife and I think a child at that time too. And he really, I think, enjoyed it and got a lot out. They have some fun adventures when you have language problems.
Yeah,
You know? And
I'm
there's,
sure.
You know, thousands of people everywhere you go. But
Yeah.
I think he enjoyed it and got a lot out of it.
I've heard all good things
That's
about
good,
South Korea
yeah.
from everybody that I know that's been there. So, and Camden's really enjoying it.
That's
So
good. And how long will he be there?
He will be there till December.
Okay, so
The end of the
one
semester.
semester.
Yep.
Okay. And what is he studying?
Business administration.
Okay.
I guarantee you, in the next 4 years, that won't be the last time he leaves the country.
I'm pretty sure that's true.
Yeah. To his credit, one of, I recommend to young people, travel when you're young.
Yes.
Enjoy traveling
For
when
sure.
you're young.
Yes.
You don't have to battle health problems. You can walk forever, and
Yep.
and that's a big deal. So how was it for Mom when he left?
I was a wreck the week he left, just trying to get everything organized, but I was very excited for him. Nervous a little bit because he is one that keeps to himself here. He doesn't really go out and socialize very much, so I was nervous, but he's really spread his wings and made friends, and they're doing something every night, so happy for him.
Yeah.
Well, Kelly, thank you so much. You're the lead-off guest, and thanks for coming in. I promised it'd be short, and we'd get you out of here. Tell Mark I'm disappointed he didn't fix you supper.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you guys.
All right,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So this is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. I'm with co-host Dale Reber and co-host Mike Farrell, producer Blake Tempest, and I'm Jim Gillespie, and we are broadcasting the 100th show right now.
That's a lot, isn't it?
It is. It is.
How many have you been on?
It would
Well,
be
100, I suppose.
98.
98?
No. 98.
98. Okay.
Well, Blake has a fact for us here.
Oh no, I was just gonna say you were right.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
was those few weeks you've been on a few times.
Yeah.
yeah,
And Dale and I.
Yeah.
yeah,
So-
yeah. Those were the highest rated shows when I was gone. So our next guest is Fritz Keys. Come on up, Fritz. Fritz has also been a regular for us, and so welcome, Fritz.
Thanks, Jim. Good to be here again.
So first off, let's get things straight here. Who you rooting for, the Yankees or the Dodgers?
Honestly, I have no bone in that fight. I just enjoy a good game. I have been to Dodger Stadium when I was stationed in San Diego.
Right.
So if I was partial, I would probably go with the blue.
My man.
But I'm not going to be upset either way.
Yeah.
All right.
I was glad to see the Yankees win one last night.
It was nice, wasn't it?
Yes.
Just to keep
It
it
was.
going. So
You know,
Giving that false hope, right?
it is. Well, Fritz. Let's start with a reason that you've been on a couple times. You were active in the new Veterans Park down on the south side of town. How's that going down there?
It's going well. We're actually a little ahead of schedule, but we're behind schedule, if that makes sense. We didn't anticipate breaking ground this fall, but they decided to go in and put the footings in for our main stones. I don't know if you can zoom in on this or not. I did bring a little diagram of what it's going to look like, but it's going to be a circular Veterans Park. And in the middle is going to be a white star with a blue on a blue field, surrounded by a red circle. And the white star on a blue background is an homage to, if you have ever seen a military aircraft or a vehicle, you'll see a white star on a blue field. So that's kind of what we're doing there. That's the intention. And then we're going to have a main stone with 6 other stones representing the 6 branches of service. And then the main stone is going to be our center point with the 3 flags behind it. And then the sidewalk leading up to it will be our memorial, or not memorial, but we don't call it a memorial park because it is for living veterans as well. So you can honor a current veteran or a past veteran. And those will be our pavers, as well as the benches will be on either side of the sidewalk.
okay. And do you still need more people to buy benches or?
Actually, we're getting close to having our benches sold out. We've got 11 so far, and we're at 12, possibly 14. It all depends on the length of the sidewalk and the layout when we finalize it. So, yeah, we're pretty close to having full benches, but there's plenty of room for additional pavers.
Okay. Well, now I heard that my paver is going to be right in the middle of that star. Is that correct? Or?
Actually, the pavers will be in the sidewalk, and
Oh,
the
okay.
star itself will not have any pavers at all.
Okay.
Unless you make a big
donation.
big
Unless we need
donation.
a loan.
Okay. All right. Well, afterwards we'll
Because this is a very expensive project with
Oh,
the stones.
I know. Can you say how much have you got into it, or how much more you need?
We
or?
don't know actually how much it's going to cost total, because cost of concrete has went way up.
Yeah.
And the flag poles, the electrical installation work. So we're still working on it.
Have you got a piece of artillery or a plane or anything lined up
That's
yet?
a
or?
good question. We do not.
Okay.
We have heard back from the Military Surplus Command, and they said we are on the list.
Oh, well.
That's the good news.
You're making progress, see?
The bad news is
It's
there's
a long list,
There
yeah.
are 300 on this list.
Oh, wow.
So we don't know how long or what type of military surplus we will get, if ever.
Yeah.
So it took us. We didn't anticipate that.
Yeah.
Do they go by the footage of the park and everything when they donate a piece of equipment? Or?
We can request certain types of military surplus, and they say what's available, or we can take what comes up first. We just don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
So it could be a couple years, it could be 10 years before we get something.
Okay.
So
Do they have all this surplus stuff in one place, or is it just?
No.
It's all over the country.
It's all
and
over the country.
So you don't even know where it's going to come
Exactly.
from. Okay.
Exactly.
So that makes
They
it
have-
hard to plan, doesn't it?
Exactly. They have to demilitarize it first.
Okay.
And they have to make it so it's safe for the public to climb on, and so you can't open or shut doors or anything like
Yeah.
Yeah.
that. So that's part of the.
I think they have.
delay.
I think it's a Sherman tank in that little park in Evansdale by the pond, the lake there. The little. I think there's a Sherman tank in there.
Oh,
So
there's
that's-
actually a.
But they got it all.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anybody could hurt themselves on that
Exactly.
unless.
You can, just like the one in the Veterans Park in Independence next to the river. They have an old M60 Marine version tank. Yes. Okay.
The So Fritz, who drew up the plans for this? Who gets credit for that?
It's kind of a committee work. I came up with the initial idea, and then people saw what the plans were and gave ideas. And so we're hoping to have a shelter in the park as well, and some picnic benches. And so, like it's the committee.
Yeah.
It came up with, and the city. You know, the people. Mike Fetkether is also on the committee as a public works director. He's had a lot of good input for us.
Yeah. Because the city's been very cooperative with this.
Oh, they've been great. It was their idea, actually,
Okay.
to come up with it.
Okay.
And so they asked if the local American Legion post would assist. And so we got our committee up.
Yeah.
So one note, like I said, we're kind of ahead of schedule in the breaking and pouring of the foundations. We have run into a snag. It's a supply chain issue. When we started this project, we had 3 sizes of pavers that were available. We have found out that the largest size paver, the manufacturer is no longer doing it.
Oh.
So we're looking at alternative sources. We're confident we'll come up with a solution for it.
Right.
But we've sold over 150, and I know there's multiple more requests coming in.
Okay, that's great.
Kind of like a shoemaker's children.
Yeah.
They go barefoot. My family hasn't even put one in, and we plan on purchasing several pavers. So.
Well, yeah, because you have a lot of veterans in your family.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
My dad, all of his 4 brothers were in, as well as my grandfather on my father's side.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. And
Well,
All Jesup people.
Yes.
Pretty much. Yeah. So yeah, that would be very important for your family.
I believe there's 3 veterans sitting at this table, correct?
1, 2, 3.
Yes.
Yes.
Marine, Navy, I don't know. Mike, you were... Oh, look at that. 82nd Airborne. See, we can read.
Well, Fritz, thank you so much for coming in tonight.
Oh, it's great. My pleasure. I always listen to the podcast, usually
thank
when
you.
I'm in the car driving.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people do that. And
Yeah.
it's
Makes-
amazing to me the people that mentioned listening to it that I said, gee, I didn't know you would be listening to that podcast. So it's always a pleasure to find somebody that's listening to it. So.
I hope to be on again telling you what the progress is.
Yeah, well,
Oh,
we'd
we
love
will.
to have you. So, and if
Okay.
you have news, and you just contact, we can put you on any time. You know, you don't wait for an invitation.
I
so.
will.
All
Okay.
right.
All right.
All right.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you very
My
much.
question.
Okay,
Is there
one-
going to be anything for Veterans Day or surrounding Veterans Day
Oh,
weekend
actually,
for the park?
For the park, we're looking at a dedication next year for Farmers Day. We are getting the traveling Vietnam Memorial Wall
Yeah.
coming in.
Oh,
That's
We
one of
announced
the-
that last week. So.
Yeah, I heard
Yeah,
that.
okay.
And for Veterans Day, our Legion Honor Guard is going to be at the St. A School at 8:30, and then we're having a program up at the public school at 10 a.m. on Veterans Day.
Oh, great.
So we'll be participating in that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the Legion is having our annual Veterans Dinner on Friday the 15th that night.
Okay. I know. They try at the public school. They try to do it right around 11 o'clock on the 11th there, if possible. If it's
They
not
moved it up
Saturday.
a little earlier because it interferes with all the kids going to lunch. So
Yeah,
it's starting
of
at 10
course.
this year.
Yeah. Don't
So-
mess with the lunch lady.
Don't want to mess with the lunch ladies.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, thank you, Fritz.
All right,
thank
thank
you
you
very
very
much. This is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network, and we're doing our 100th show tonight. So I believe I did see the mayor of
He's
Jesup
coming. Yep.
here. Welcome, Mr. Mayor. We're live tonight, so like to thank you for a lot of things, Mayor. You've been on not only to share city stuff with us and other things about things going on in the community, but you've also donated stuff to the Steve Brown Arts Center for the Watermelon Days out at Littleton.
Yep.
So thank you so much. We can't thank you enough, and thank you for being on the 100th show.
Thankful you invited me.
Yeah. So it's that time of year. It's political week.
Oh yeah.
I guess let's talk about the issue that faces the community a little bit is the EMS. How do you see that issue going for Buchanan County?
It's very much needed outside of Jesup. You know, we're very fortunate that we have volunteer service, which cuts our expenses drastically compared to having a full paid service. But I mean, that's really, I think, what was driving it was the area outside of Jesup, and Fairbank also has a volunteer service, but their expenses just keep going up every year, and the county, the city of Independence, just don't have the budget to keep putting more money into that. But that will also raise some revenue for the Jesup ambulance area, and we're working with the county. They've been pretty agreeable so far on some type of like 2080 agreement that would guarantee that the money that we collect in the Jesup ambulance territory would stay with the Jesup ambulance service and not go to somewhere else. So I think that would really open up a lot of possibilities for our service as far as upgrading equipment sooner, ambulances, also looking at maybe some type of stipend or something to help reimburse our volunteers. They've really been on a lot of calls lately, and it's said that's all volunteer right now. So
It's hard because of the money thing, and yet, like, the city could double their budget for the ambulance service, and the taxpayers would still save money rather than paying the 75-cent levy. See,
Right.
It's hard for people to understand. Why is this a good thing for us? You know.
yeah,
And
we didn't pick the 75 cents.
Yeah, I know
Obviously,
that,
was
yeah,
a county.
but, yeah.
Right.
I think if it was a city levy, I mean, just from conversations we had at the council level, I think we would have some additional revenue would definitely be nice to help replace equipment sooner.
Mhm.
Ambulances keep going up, but we probably would have selected a lesser levy because that would still allow us to do a lot more than what we're doing. And
Yeah.
So, as a benefit, so my son was playing football a couple Fridays ago, broke his collarbone, and the ambulance was there. So I was asking my wife, why isn't the ambulance grabbing him up and taking him over to Mercy One or whatever? What is it? I assume that the city, and I'm an outsider looking in. What is it that the city ambulance will do for me? I understand that the city's paying for it, but do you go to my insurance company? Do you bill them? If I don't have insurance, are you billing me? Is there, what is the benefit, I guess, for us to contribute to this regional ambulance? What is it going to help us in this town, or how's that all work together?
yeah, with our volunteer ambulance service, we obviously bill when they go on calls. That'll go to the insurance company first. If the insurance company doesn't pay, then it goes to the individual. And we're actually, our revenues and expenses just about balance out with what we collect now.
Okay.
But we've also got a lot of really expensive equipment that's coming due, ambulances or cots or I don't even want to throw out numbers because I'm sure
Yeah.
that they're way out of date from
Yeah, well, some of
last
the numbers
time
they were on that
considered
sheet were really high as
Yeah.
far as what it takes to even to buy a cot or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
a new ambulance, and
So we've
very
been-
expensive. And,
putting away a little bit of money every year, but once we started talking about it and you kind of lay that out, it's what we're putting away is not going to be enough to keep up with the ambulances and the equipment.
yeah. So the 167,000 extra a year would be
It would have
very
to-
beneficial.
Yeah, it would have to come out of property taxes one
Yeah.
way or another, whether it's this levy or we would have to take, and we're kind of maxed out on our other property taxes, so it would have to pretty much come from another department.
Yeah.
Without the levy, we can't just add more tax to for the
Mike,
ambulance.
You had another question there?
So is it a Buchanan County ambulance? Is it the Jesup ambulance? Is it going to be the Independence ambulance? What, if I'm gonna give you 75 cents out of every whatever, where is the ambulance gonna be based, and whose ambulance is it gonna be? Is it gonna be the county's? Is it gonna be Jesup?
So right now, there's primarily 3 ambulance services that do Buchanan County. We have Jesup, which does the city of Jesup, and then we have, I think, parts of 4 other townships that is our service area. Fairbank has their own ambulance service, and they also pick up some outside of the city of Fairbank. Most of the rest of the county is it's contracted through the county. The city of Independence and the hospital all contribute to that right now, and that's contracted through AMR. And there's a couple other, like Vinton and Oline, I think, they come into the county a little bit, but they want to keep this tax revenue with the services that are actually based within the county. So it will be split between, I'm going to say, the county ambulance service, the city of Jesup, city of Fairbank.
And this is something new, right? Because I've seen signs in other towns about the same sign, vote for the EMS, or
Yeah.
and so it must be other counties are considering this also, or
I want to say there's like maybe 15 to 20 counties that have already passed it. and
Okay.
It's newer legislation.
yeah.
So Chris, you've got to help me here because I don't know the verbiage for this, but let's say this 75 cents on 1,000 goes through. That tax doesn't have to go to the ambulance, does it? I mean,
Yes, it goes into a dedicated fund that can only be used for
it
ambulance
can only be
services.
used for the ambulance.
Correct.
So it's not a what is those taxes that so they start at the list of the school and go down the list.
Yeah, we have like a general fund levy that we can levy up to $8.10, and that's for any expenses. And then you have, I call them dedicated levies, or like library levy was one.
So it's a dedicated
Yep.
levy.
Yep. Like the money we collected for the library, that was an additional, I can't remember what it was, 42 cents or
It
something.
was
Right.
something like that. Yes, it
Yeah.
wasn't. It wasn't a terrible.
But
amount.
that money
they,
could only go to the library.
yeah,
and this
they
would
don't
be
have
the
that
same thing.
anymore, though, right?
Right.
That
Yep,
they
the state
outlawed
did away with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they consolidated a lot of the levies, and then, like over the next 3 years, they're just going to keep cutting it down until all those levies get to the $8.10 mark.
So let's talk. So let's figure the vote out. And I know you don't want to say how the vote is going to go, but let's figure this out. You know, Jesup has its own ambulance, and we are basically supporting ourselves right now, thanks basically to volunteers.
Correct.
And then how is Fairbank doing financially? I mean, do they want the EMS or not?
From what I heard just through the grapevine when they presented to the city council and Fairbank, that went very well, and they were supposed to be pretty supportive of it from what I've heard.
So you think the taxpayers want it too?
Yep. I guess I don't know how that
Right.
up in that area.
Well, I was at one of the meetings that our EMS people put out, and they very much want it. I mean, they see a lot of positive things happening with training and stipends and this sort of thing to keep that volunteer force together and active for, hopefully many years. Because without them, we're in, if you just have to start contracting like that independence company, I heard they like $500,000 a year.
Right. I mean, it goes up every year.
Yeah, and so a lot of difference between $500,000 and free.
Right.
So,
Well, but and to defend independence, they go to Kowalski, correct?
Yes. It's,
Yeah, they go to Kowalski and they go over to Winthrop.
Yeah.
no, they have a
Yeah.
huge area.
Probably
Yeah.
They cover a lot. Yeah.
They do.
2/3
Yeah.
of the county.
Oh, yeah.
I would guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's actually not a city ambulance service. They
Because the Board of Supervisors chips money in too, right? For that service.
and they're
yeah.
looking at what they would like to do is to get away from contracting and start like a county ambulance service.
Sure.
Which preliminary discussion was Jesup would keep their service, Fairbank would keep theirs, but everybody else at AMR servicing would be covered by a county-run ambulance service, so
Okay.
they'd have more control over it, more cost.
But they'd have to start from scratch, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Because they have no equipment at all.
Right.
Is
So
what
the
I've
only
heard.
way they would be able to do that realistically would be with this levy and knowing that they're collecting
Yeah.
X amount of dollars every year.
So they can borrow ahead then.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
This is the time to have that vote with presidential election.
You're gonna
You
get
know,
a lot of
get the
money.
turnout, yeah.
get a
Right.
turnout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it was the middle of the year and the school board election and
Yeah.
city council election,
Yeah.
it may not pass.
Right.
So this
And
is
an age
public.
60%, right?
Yes.
Yeah. See, that's the tough part.
So I know I said I wasn't going to ask you to do it, but I'm going to ask you to do it. What's your
gut feeling?
Yeah, what's your gut feeling? Which way is it going to go? Do you think?
I think it's going to pass. I think just being emergency services, people are very supportive of it. And, outside the Jesup area, they really don't have a lot of choice if they want to have an ambulance service.
Yeah.
They really need it.
Yeah.
I guess one other thing I should mention too is It will also go to first responder units within the fire departments in the smaller towns to help them get equipment, help them train their people.
Yeah.
So even the smaller towns will, like Hazelton, for instance, is actually an Owens ambulance territory, but they will benefit from that STUM because their fire department will be able to get some equipment for their first responders and training, and they would like to get like an EMT and at least one or two EMTs in every community.
Yeah,
because
that was a big
with
selling
that
point for it.
big of a territory for their ambulance to cover, it can be quite a while till they get to some of the further out communities.
Yeah, the way they explained, they wanted somebody that could they get the call, that person could
Right.
just go.
They have
and then
a
the
bag
ambulance
with the
comes when it can
basics, they
come.
can get there
But you
and
get somebody
start
there right
treatment.
away, an EMT that can
Yep.
help right away, and so I thought that was I never thought about that, but that's a
Right.
good plan, I would think.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you never know where you're going to be in the county. You might
Well,
not
that's the
be in
thing.
Jesup if you have a medical emergency.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Well, and that's the thing, you know, we don't care about, you know, those services until we need those services.
Right.
And all of a sudden, they're pretty important to
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So you know, we want the best for Buchanan County and Jesup.
Okay, now this kind of popped up. I mean, maybe I wasn't paying attention, but all at once I started seeing the signs around. Is there any issue coming down the road that you know about that maybe it will affect Jesup in some way in the next year or so, or anything else happening?
as far as elections,
As far
or-
as, you know, something that the taxpayers will have to figure out if they want to support it or not, or something that the town needs that we need to pay for yet, or, because I know we've done a lot of work here lately, and maybe we're all caught up.
we're looking at for next year a big street project up by the school on 6th Street in Prospect. Roughly like a $3 million project.
Okay.
I'm not sure yet if that'll be all at one time or it might be phased in. We will have to borrow money for that, but that'll be a general obligation bond where unless somebody petitions for an election, the council can hold a public hearing and it doesn't have to go for a referendum vote.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know of anything
Okay.
right now that would be put out as a referendum vote for the
Yeah. Okay.
community.
Sort of,
that's
sort
good.
of, sort of. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying that's good. I think,
Yeah.
Okay.
Sort of off the subject, but you talked about the school and the intersection up there. Is the Jesup School the #1 employer in our city?
I believe so.
I believe it. I believe they. Last I knew, they had something like 180 some people.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it you know, all of them aren't full time.
No.
Yeah. But that's quite a few people for a town our size.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think the school's been the biggest employer for a long time.
I think so.
I remember seeing those numbers years ago, and
Yeah.
so
So, let's go to the national election. Thank goodness, Chris, you brought some.
with your political expertise, what do you think is going to happen?
You know, how do you see things going here?
Oh, I don't have a lot good to say about that.
Do you know, it is. It's almost
that's
over,
A
thank
toss up,
goodness.
in my opinion.
Well, that's where all
I
the
think it's
polls seem to
Gonna see
run,
who makes the
and,
most mistakes in the next week.
yeah,
Is gonna lose.
Yeah, and they keep piling up, don't they?
Yeah.
And it's amazing how a phrase or a word or
Right.
just President Biden said the wrong thing the wrong way or whatever, and so that's a big thing in today's news, and the Trump rally, and it was interesting. Jon Stewart was talking about this comedian, and he said he's an insult comedian. That's what he does.
Yeah.
And it's not his fault. You know, the people that hired him should have known this is what this guy does. And because he says, I like the guy. I think he's what, you know. But,
Right. Probably not a guest you want at a
no.
political rally.
No, not really, because he's not making any friends for anybody.
Right.
And if you're looking for reasons to do one thing or another, you know, then they give them to you with that kind of
Right.
humor and speech. And
Didn't seem very well thought out.
no, I don't think so. But some of those other guys that talked to, they were crazy also, as far as I'm concerned. But That's
Well,
another story.
If you look at those kind of comedians, that's the biggest house he's ever going to perform in front of.
More than likely.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of those guys starting a place in front of about this crowd
This
right
is it
here.
right here, yeah.
You know, and then they may get a room with 25 or 30, and then they may get, you know, a fair or a county fair, and then if they become great, they may get a stadium, a Chris Rock type of deal.
Yeah.
I think they're looking for their own TV show. Is what I think.
Yeah.
They're trying to get where they get their own, because a lot of ex-comedian, or they are still comedians, but they, you know, like Cosby and all these guys, they try to get their own show. Seinfeld, that's where they make their huge money, and after that, they're just going to do whatever they want to do because they don't have the financial burden anymore.
Right,
So,
right.
So that's what we're doing here, are we? Is trying to get a TV show.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
One step closer today.
We had 3 people in the room at one time tonight. We're making progress.
We are.
Yeah,
We
our
are.
audience is building right here. So
That's right. So one other question, we'll get you out of here, Mr. Mayor. Well, next year, who will be up for re-election on? Is your term up next year?
Yep. The mayor's every 2 years,
Okay.
so I'll be up next year, and then Denny Bell and Todd Rolfson will be up for election also.
Can we get a big announcement? Are you running again?
I believe so.
There you go. You heard it here first.
do you have any idea why they did mayors are 2 years and councilmen are 4 years? Or it just seems crazy to me. But
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I can see it both ways.
yeah,
Because with the mayor is pretty much in charge of the day-to-day operations. So if you have somebody that's really bad, 2 years can seem like a really long time.
yeah,
Right, yeah.
yeah.
But also you're, especially just starting out, 2 years, you're just getting your feet wet,
Sure.
getting the hang
Yeah.
of things, and
Yeah.
it takes you a year or two to basically learn what you're doing. So
I would think so. Because I
yeah.
read the minutes, I have
wouldn't
no
wanna
idea
be
what you're
in-
talking about.
Be in a
so,
situation where you're turning over mayors every 2 years.
Well,
so
yeah,
that would
yeah.
be tough.
Right. So this is the end of your third year.
Third year, yeah.
Yeah, the end of your third year. No, thank you for what you've done.
Thanks for serving.
Yeah.
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 Takes a lot of
Haven't run
guts
out
to
of
put
town
your
yet.
well. It takes a lot of guts to put your name on a ballot.
We came
I think.
close this year.
Pretty hard there for a little while. Isn't it?
Yeah. So
I'm interested. Do you get a lot of phone calls, Chris?
Not typically.
Best thing happen is cell phones, isn't it?
Yeah.
People don't have cell phone numbers.
yeah.
Yeah. Which is that's wonderful that you don't get a lot
Yeah.
of 11 o'clock phone calls or 10 o'clock phone calls
No,
are terrible.
not very often.
Yeah.
You can call Coley. That's what we have him for. So
Yep.
take the calls. I see some places they have like bulletproof glass in front of the city clerk's desk,
Yeah.
and then it's pretty bad. So yeah. So I'm glad we don't have that kind of stuff around here. It's just,
All right. Well,
thank you very much for coming.
Thank
It's
you
nice
for
to see you.
coming in, Mr.
Thank you.
Mayor.
Hope
Good
you
to
come
see
again
you.
every now and then and let us know.
I will. Thank
All
you.
right. See
Thank
ya.
you.
This is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network, and that was Mayor Chris Even, and he's been a great help to the Arts Center and to the Littleton Watermelon Day, and the even oh gosh, Chris, help me out. The name of your business.
Even events and rentals.
Even Events and Rentals. I wanted to make sure I said that
That's
right.
why you look familiar.
So-
I saw you
so
over
thank-
PK Flooring.
Oh yeah.
Okay, you're the tent guy.
Yep, we set up a tent there.
All right.
It's we're live here on YouTube, you guys. That's all right. That's all right.
Looking at him, and I know this fella from somewhere.
So, our next guest is the Steve Brown Arts Center's first resident artist, Tim Kimmer. Welcome, Tim. Welcome back.
Good to be back. Good to be back.
Yeah, we're going through Guests in a Hurry tonight.
All right.
So,
All right.
so I don't know if you know Mike Farrell.
Mike, Nice to
Nice
meet
to
you.
meet you.
And you've met Dale before,
Yeah, of
Blake.
course. You Blake, yep.
Yeah. Tim's final event is this Friday at the Littleton Chatham Historical Society.
Wow.
He is showing his art there, and he's also playing guitar and singing. And
Looking
then,
forward to that.
And then, if the Farrells come out, I will buy you a chili supper Friday night.
This Friday?
This Friday it
You
is
better
from.
take him up on that.
I'm writing that down.
Okay, chili supper goes from 5:30 to 7, but Tim will have his art up by 5 o'clock, and he will probably start to perform about 5:30 by the time we get everything set up.
Yep.
And
It should be a fun evening.
Yeah,
So
we'll be
I'm
looking
looking
forward
forward
to
to it.
Let me get another shameless plug in. Where is it going to be?
at the Littleton Chatham Historical Society. It's right across the road from the Littleton Diner the Second. I'm sure they have to change the LLC the second. They have to change that when a new owner comes in. It's
Oh,
all
okay.
about
Oh.
tax reasons, is what
So has it changed hands? Or?
It has.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Gail Schuler is the new owner.
Okay.
So yeah. But Tim, you were on earlier, but we didn't talk about your music.
Well, that's something I started, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 years ago. Something I've always wanted to do. I have some cousins that, ever since I was a little kid, they've been musicians, and one of them just recently passed away. But the other two gentlemen, they're awesome musicians. One still plays in a band today, blues band up in St. Paul, Minnesota, and so that I've always had that. So anyway, as I was getting closer to retirement age, I was thinking, I need to find something to do, and I thought, I'm gonna go buy myself a guitar and take some lessons and see what happens.
Okay.
So. I'm not near as good as I should be by now, but I enjoy it. I'm more of a campfire type guys, or I sit out on my patio a lot, play for my neighbors and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, but I enjoy it very much.
Is
I
there-
wrote a few songs and.
Certain kind of music you like to sing more than others? Or?
Not really. I play a kind of a variety. A lot of the songs I play, most people probably haven't heard of before. But I play a lot of 70s classic stuff, some country, a few blues,
Sure.
and so yeah.
Okay.
You have some stuff on YouTube.
I
that
do.
I've watched.
So if anybody wants to watch, it's Tim Kemmer on YouTube, and I have several music videos on there that I've done. So
So as a music, here's a challenge for you, Mike. Mike Farrell, I've got to ask him. So a music video, does a music video have to have action in it? Is it a drama or a comedy, or is a music video just the artist playing?
I think it could be a combination of both. I don't. Going back to my days of watching music videos, that was in the early days of MTV.
sure,
right?
yeah.
No, I'm kind of an amateur musician myself. I'd
Okay.
much rather see see the song with some sort of what's going on in the song behind them. It doesn't have to have a lot of action.
Yeah.
Coming home to love my wife. Maybe the wife comes out the door and gives her a hug or whatever or something like that. But not, I don't need a lot of action to that for me, anyways. I'm kind of curious. You said older 70s. I'm thinking older 70s.
Oh,
country.
like I do The Gambler, Kenny Rogers.
So you like Willie? Would Mellow be up your
I do.
line?
Yeah, I do a
Johnny
couple.
Cash?
I like listening to them. Yeah, I do a couple Johnny Cash songs.
Yeah.
Do some Travis Tritt.
Okay.
And then I've got some songs. I don't even remember who the people were, but I played the songs. So but I don't do a whole lot of country, but I do have some. so.
More Neil Simon.
I do a lot of like John Fogerty, CCR.
Yeah.
I do some Stevie Ray Vaughan.
So you're pretty slick with the fingers then.
Well, not like I should be, but just a wide variety.
Awesome.
So
George Thorogood,
And the Delaware Destroyers.
Delaware Destroyers, no.
That was George Thorogood's band. George
Oh
Thorogood.
yeah, the Destroyers, yeah.
Yeah.
But I do Green Day. I don't know if anybody's ever heard Green Day, but I do a song of theirs. So yeah, just a wide variety. Like I say, I've written my own songs too. So I'll plan on playing a couple of them Friday night.
so how quick can you write a song?
You know, it just depends. The one song I wrote came to me like within 5 or 10 minutes. You know, I had the chords down, the lyrics down, and it was a done deal. And then I've had some where I'll just start playing something, and it's something that I just keep playing. You know, maybe I've played it for a year, and then all of a sudden, hey, and I'll put some words to it that'll just, come to me. And so it just kind of depends.
So the music comes first and then the lyric, or?
Not always.
Not
Not
al-
always.
okay.
I'm always walking around my house singing stuff, making up little
Yeah.
lyrics and this and that. So
And if something you like, you can
yeah,
put some
yeah.
music around it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was wondering about that.
Do you carry a thesaurus around with you? Or is there? There's got to be a program or something that art and part. And is there, or is it just up here?
Just up here.
Just up
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Okay.
I wish I had the music capabilities and things like that I could just come up with stuff or just sit down and play along with anybody, at any time. But I'm comfortable with the way I
Well, sure.
the way I play.
Yeah.
And, so
If it's for your own enjoyment, especially, then you should do it that way.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
I love that. Kelly, that was on earlier, Kelly from Seahawks. I got it right this
Hello,
time.
Kelly.
She did ask, do you write your own songs?
I do. Yes.
I know that Kelly, Kelly's been talking to the artist that was on last week, Chet Reagan, about doing an event of how to write songs here.
Sure.
And so it is. Yeah, I know Kelly is a lover of music. She goes to a lot of local concerts and
Oh,
goes
nice.
to Des Moines
Nice.
and stuff. As her children gets older, it's tougher to do that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
But soon they'll leave, and then it's easier to do that. So just have to be patient.
Yeah.
the so how goes your art, your paintings?
Paintings, it's kind of slowed up. I've neglected so many things over the summer, so I've been kind of getting caught up with my winter obligations. But I've done a couple paintings, but I plan on doing a lot this winter. I want to be able to venture out a little bit more next year as far as where I go as like farmers markets and different places. So I'm trying to get quite a variety of different, some landscapes, working on my portraits, working on pets and that type of thing.
Yeah.
But it's just been a crazy year with it. Being introduced to the Steve Art Center and having you guys promote me, it's just been really awesome. It's been.
We're glad we can help.
I've sold a lot of paintings at the farmers markets. I get so many awesome comments, and it's been really good.
Yeah.
So
I've seen you several times. You never have any paint drops on your clothing. Do you have a smock or something you wear, or your dad's
come on
old
over
shirt?
to my house sometime.
Okay.
I've got paint on everything.
Okay.
I'm down to just a few things I can wear.
Okay, so you don't have your dad's old shirt or
No,
anything?
no.
Because in kindergarten, you used to always bring one of your dad's old shirts and
Yeah,
have the
I
kids would
remember
wear
doing
those
that.
to wear so they would
Yeah.
get paint all over
I
themselves.
do.
and so-
When I first started, I did have like a little apron I was wearing, and then next thing you know, I was like, "Well, I'm not going to put that
Well,
on.
sure.
I'm not going to get any paint on myself."
What kind of manly artist are you?
Yeah.
We we're supporting Garrett Ficken right now in Independence. His art is hanging in where Tim's art was hanging for a while in M's Coffee House.
Yes, yes.
And M's Coffee House has been a great supporter for the Steve Brown Arts Center. And the Garrett took me down to his studio in the basement, and his studio, he has a studio room about as big as this studio is right here, with a regular door, not the wide door that we have
sure.
here. And he does what they call paint by pouring the paint. And Dale waited for me to say pour painting, but I didn't do it here, Reaver.
Okay.
It's amazing because there is paint from the time you come in on the ceiling, on the walls, on the floor, on his tables. He talks about, then he has lines painted all over his studio. I mean, his studio is a piece of art in itself.
Right.
It's
Yeah, he does some amazing work.
He does. If you get a chance, stop in to see Garrett's art. It comes down November 7th at M's Coffee, and you can buy that art in there. But back to you, one thing you were talking about your clothes. Garrett has. I was at his house last night, and he's got a rack of sweatshirts hanging up, and there's paint all over them. And he said, I can sell those online, and people pay big money because people love those sweatshirts with paint all over them.
Wow.
That's an idea.
There you go. See.
Yeah.
I do wood floors. Could I sell the polyurethane pants that I
Yeah.
have?
Well, put a little color in
But
it.
if it's done by accident, he just spattered paint on himself while doing something else, is that really art or is that just an accident?
That's an expression.
Yeah, it's expression.
You're going to be at the.
I guess if you see big splatters, you know he wasn't in a very good mood. Maybe
Well, yeah,
I
I
don't know.
suppose you could read that into the paintings. I suppose that there's an angry spatter or something. So, well, I got in trouble because I think I actually told him, didn't I, that I didn't think that was real art.
I believe
Yeah,
I
we talked
believe
about
it.
that when I was here.
Yeah,
We
so-
talked about that. Yeah.
I got criticized. One of our listeners said, you really shouldn't do that. I said, well, I'm sorry. I just was being honest.
Everybody's a critic.
I know.
Mike, you had a question there.
So you're going to be at the Littleton Chatham Society this Friday at a chili supper. Where else would you be this winter, fall, spring?
Right now, I don't have anything on my schedule for the winter.
Okay.
But this spring, I'll be starting at the local farmer markets around here, Jesup, Independence, Old maybe Cedar Rapids area.
Farmers Day? You want to see you?
Yes, yes.
Now, one of the neat things, and part of this is I follow a number of artists on my Facebook page. But there are, I will come across 2 or 3 they're called calls for artists. I didn't know this term until I met the lady that has the studio on the south part of town down by Casey's here.
Oh, okay. I know.
And she introduced this verbiage to me. She said to have a call for art. But if you look at that, you could go into a lot of places.
Sure.
Yeah.
One of the things, and Dale and I've talked a lot about this. One of the things I would like to do is have like a paint off. Like if we were all 4 painters, and Blake would throw a subject like fishing,
Okay.
then we would put our easels against each other so we can't see each other's, and we would paint. We'd have an hour to paint,
Yeah.
sort of like
Neat idea.
a painting competition. And I've always wanted to do that, but unless you have a call for artists, it's hard to get artists because they're active.
Sure,
they're
sure.
going places. They want to get places where they can sell their art.
Sure.
Garrett and I were talking about this last night. He's excited. M's leaving up his art until the 7th, and then the people that are buying it are going to go get it. And then he will
Sure.
get his money then. He wants the money to buy paint and buy the canvases and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So Tim, is there anything else that you want to talk about?
Not that I can really think of, other than again, I want to thank everybody that's been so supportive of me. They come to the markets and give me all the comments. I want to thank you and the Steve Brown Art Center, and thank you guys, the two of you, for having me on here a couple times now. So it's been a good year. I'm looking forward to next year, and I'm looking forward really to Friday night, playing and singing and eating some good chili.
That'll be good. Yeah.
We won't stop supporting you just because your residency ends.
Sure.
So you had all winter to make a bunch of new stuff too.
Yes. So I'll be busy.
Yeah, I
that's
bet
for
you will.
sure.
Yeah,
That's
I
for
think
sure.
Nice to have that passion to want to do something like that.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Kelly, before you go, Kelly sent us a second message. Said she would love to have you attend the songwriting shop that she is setting up. I'm sure.
Oh.
If you're listening, send those dates to us, and we'll plug those dates for you.
Yeah, I would love to do something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, Tim Kemmer, thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is Steve Brown Art Center Podcast Network, and
I was wondering if a little time. The history of this whole thing, like 100 shows, is a lot of shows. And can you remember, how did this whole thing get going? How did you get involved with this?
well, that's a great question. It seems like a long process, and it wasn't. It started. Thanks, Tim. It started. The newspaper closed here in town.
Right. Citizen Herald.
Yeah, the Citizen Herald, and the numbers they were getting weren't huge, and you can't give the house away. And one day I thought, well, I'm not an artist, so to speak. I try different things, but there's got to be an art that I can do. And I'm a big fan of Meadowlark Media and Dan Lebitard and Stugatz.
Okay. Yeah.
And they formed their own company after they left ESPN. And I sat down, I wrote shows that we could have. We could have a show about school. We could have a show about the government. We could have a show about national news. We could have a show about the state. And I had a list of like 11 things. And I thought, well, who do I go to? Who? Because you don't know how to start this. And like a lot of people do, I went, and he's become big in our community. And to his defense, people take advantage of him, and I took advantage of him. I got an appointment with Zach Knutson,
Okay.
Oh, okay.
and I called him and said, I'd like to talk to you about something. And I went to his office, and I said, do we have to sit in your office, or can we go for a drive? And we went and got in my truck, and we took off for a drive, and we got coffee and drove around Buchanan County, and I told him my plan. And he said, I'd like you to get together with some people here in the or here in town with your plan. And those people were Zach and Nate Clayberg and Tony Lang, and I'm forgetting one other person. Please forgive me.
Was it Dusty?
It wasn't Dusty. It wasn't Dusty. That's a, you know, that would have been a good person.
Fair guess.
Yeah, that is a great guess. And we met, and we sat, and they were right, I was wrong. I had like 11 different ideas for shows written down. They said, how are you going to staff 11 shows? There's no way. You know, like I had Rachel Thomas. I wanted Rachel Thomas to do a show. You know, what a great cook.
Sure.
Incredible cook. Rachel wants nothing to do with the camera or the microphone. You know, and I couldn't assume those things. Well, you know, and I went about a month and a half, and I was at the library one day, and one of the city councilmen walked up to me, and he said, "Why haven't you started your podcast?"
Yeah.
It sort of irritated me at first.
Well, sure.
You know, like, well, why haven't you? I thought, but I wasn't smart enough to to say something back to him. But it was a good idea that he did that. You know, I needed to be kicked in the butt. And I set out to do school, city, news, and I was by myself. And it was, you know, at first, you know, even the first show, wow, we had pretty good numbers, Blake. I mean, Blake was here, thank goodness.
Yeah. Now, how did you get hooked up with Blake?
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
So during that meeting with Nate and Tony and Zach, one of them said, one thing I said was, I don't have any technical ability. Could you answer my cell phone for me? and they said, you know, a good person would be Blake Tempest. And to Blake's, you know, Blake and I talked about this, and we talked about it being a moneymaker for him, a job.
Yeah.
And Blake was smart enough to realize he didn't want to do that job that I presented to him. The job I presented was go out and sell advertisements,
Yeah.
and he would keep a portion of it, and a portion of it would go to the Steve Brown Arts Center. And that was tough for Kim when he was running the paper.
So you had narrowed it down to art then. Your 11 ideas, you had narrowed it down to you're going to do art.
Well, good question. We had narrowed it down. We were going to do Jesup City News.
Okay, yeah, you had said that. And so,
Yeah.
Okay.
And so Blake and I one night, to Cowork 591 and the staff, they were kind enough to allow us to use their studio each night. And they are a for our sponsorship, or they are a sponsor, we get to use their studio for free. So that's why I try to say Co-work 591
Sure. Oh, yeah, several times.
as much as I can.
Sure.
Because they are incredible. And we try to be flexible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, oh, yeah.
And if we can't record in here, we go to a smaller studio, or maybe we go to a different night if we have to. Maybe Blake has something for work, or
Yeah.
we go to a different night. But Co-work has been a great supporter for us. Matter of fact, to Co-work's credit, I was close to renting a building on Main Street here, and I came in and I talked to Kelly and Tony at the time, and they said, "Why would you pay for something when you can use our building for free?" To their credit.
Yeah.
And so we're fortunate, and a person that I'm not giving enough credit to is Blake, because it would not come out every Monday morning at 10 o'clock without Blake. It would not be edited, and you would hear swear words coming out of my mouth and and things like that, me tripping over the chords and things like that. And Blake does a good job of editing that, and I can't thank him enough. He's been around for more than 100 shows. So
I've heard how two of you amigos have come together. How did the three of the amigos come together?
Well, I got a phone call from Gillespie, and he's talking to me about this Steve Brown Arts Center that he's got going, and he had a board. He told me all the people that were involved with it and everything, and so I'm thinking, okay, this guy wants a donation. That's what I thought. And I said, and I knew Steve Brown, and I said, I'm happy to make a donation, so if he ever stops talking, I want to say, yes, I'd love to donate. How much do you need, or whatever? And but he gets to it, he wants me to do a program. He said, we have to do programs. We have to show people that might grant us money that we're doing stuff, and so we need a program to get started. So he said, you do a Jesup history thing, you want me to do a program on the history of Jesup.
Oh, okay.
And so I had done it, so I said, yeah, I'd be glad to. So we had it down at the library in the community room, and we had 30-some people show up, which surprised me, because I thought, it could be 2 people. He said, that doesn't matter, just so we can show that we had it. Yeah. But there was 30-some people, and it was very nice, and I thought it was a good program. People seemed to be happy with it. And so you sent me a check. And I said, no, I don't want a check. No, we have to pay people to do these things. And so I cashed the check, to my shame. And then, I don't know if it was that same night or you asked me to come on and be a guest and talk about volunteering in the community and this sort of thing. And so I said, well, yeah, I can do that. And I didn't think that went as well as I'd hoped it would, because there were several things I didn't remember to talk about. But that went well. And so then you said, well, you want to co-host sometime? And I said, I don't know. If I want to commit to every week, I have to do something like this. But Blake said something. He said that he thought we had bounced off each other really well. It was interesting. And so I tried it a few times, and I said, well, yeah, I'll do it. But I can't be nailed down to it every week. But I come every week because I like coming, So if I'm in town, I come. I don't skip for any reason unless I have to be gone for some reason. So I kind of enjoy doing it. And until somebody tells me, we don't want you anymore, I probably will still hang around. But that's quite honestly, when you called me, I had never heard of the Steve Brown Arts Center, and I thought, you're getting this up and running, and you need money, and so I'll be glad to donate. But I never got that far. So anyway, I just thank you for letting me do this with you. I enjoy it very much, and every now and then somebody says something to me about the podcast, which makes me feel good, and so That's right. So thank you.
Well, I should be thanking you, Dale, because and I'm a numbers person. Going back to teaching, you look at numbers and you have to look at numbers, wrong or right.
Yeah.
And I one of the things I like about the CAPS program here is it's a pass-fail program,
Yeah.
and we have Macy Masteller is our CAPS associate, and she talked about 2 weeks ago. She said, it is a pass-fail, but Macy works extremely hard for that. It's not, she's not working for an A. She
likes
the
what she's doing.
community.
Yeah.
And so it is, but I look at numbers, and our numbers are up when you're on with me, Dale, when you're not.
Well, I have a lot of relatives. But, yeah. Well, that's nice you to say, but people, when they tune in, they don't know if I'm going to be on or not. We don't announce that, so I don't think that's actually the
I
case.
don't want to keep jumping on the Dale train here, but I do just want to say, so the first episode where Dale was interviewed came out on the 2nd of January of last year. January. Yep. And that show had 76 plays. That's up there in our plays.
That's a good play.
And we had 2 shows in between. They were at 29 and 59. And then we had their first concert. And then Dale joined as a co-host, and the views went back up to 74 for the listens. They like you, Dale.
Yeah, they do. They do.
I'm glad we keep him around.
Exactly.
So
But-
into the history.
I'm going to have to buy a bigger hat now. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm from away, so I have no idea who is Steve Brown. Can you tell everybody who's listening who is Steve Brown?
Yeah, thank you. That's such a good question. We don't give Steve enough credit. Steve was a long-time art teacher at Jesup School. He also taught at Gladbrook High School back before Gladbrook became Gladbrook Rhinebeck.
Yeah.
And Steve was very active. If you go back to the 1990s and early 2000s, art was huge in Jesup, Mike. And we had people artists like the Ying String Quartet, a world-renowned string quartet that lived here in
They lived
town.
here for 2 years, didn't they?
Yeah, they lived here in town. They would travel. The deal was, and Dale, you were involved in that a little bit. Didn't they have to do half their time here in Jesup?
I guess I don't know a number, but I know if they had an engagement in Chicago or whatever, they were free to do that sort of thing. But in town here, they would come to your house and play in your living room, or they would go to your church and play for a church full, or they'd play to a gym full. I think they did a wedding actually, and but they would play to a gymnasium. They would take classes of kids, and talk to them about classical music and about the different instruments they played, and they were very good teachers. They were excellent, and the thing I always told my kids is that you can listen to the music, and the music is wonderful, but also listen for the expertise, because these people practice until it's impossible for them to make a mistake, and they are just so darn good. And so that's possible for people to do that, to practice like that and get that good. And that's what I want them to see, is that you can be expert at something if you put the work in. And so, they were just nice people. 3 brothers and a sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were young people. They were, in their 20s.
And they'd come to the basketball games and the plays and that kind of thing, and interact with the students. And they taught Virginia Hodges, I know, is one that had to be in her 70s, maybe in her 80s, and she took violin lessons from one of them. And they taught people how to play. And so just anything they could do in the community, they would do. And so it was national news. We had CBS This Morning came and did a segment on them. It was on national news. So
Yeah.
it was just a fantastic program.
It was. I tell the story on and this is for Steve, but Steve was, Steve had in his room all types of different artists. We had money. We had a lot of money. What
That was amazing. Yeah, it was.
What had happened was we had a superintendent, a wonderful man, had been here for a long time, and he had saved money.
Yeah.
And it's illegal to save money in a nonprofit organization like a public school. You have to spend it.
Right.
And he had saved somewhere around $3 million.
Wow.
And when he retired, the new superintendent came in. He redid the gymnasium. He brought in professional writers for the English classroom. He brought in professional musicians for the band and vocal. He brought in people for Steve and Mrs. Steuben in the art rooms. And one thing about Steve, Mr. Crum was the superintendent at the time that was doing this. And Mr. Crum was very innovative, incredibly innovative. Mm-hmm. He didn't get the credit at the time that he probably deserved at the time.
Well, and yes, the school board went along with him as far as spending this money to doing all these innovative programs too. And so it just all came together at the right time.
Yeah.
And you had a superintendent that had some funds and had ideas about what to do with it. And he was big in the arts, and he's the one that got the Yings here and did all those programs. And we had others after the Yings too for several years until you get different people and things change. But no, it did a fantastic job. But Steve Brown was anything you needed in the art. If the city needed a sign at the welcome to Jesup or something, he'd have kids and himself, and they would paint these signs and put them up at the where the roads come into town. And he did art in the park, where he'd have art down in the park, and the people would come and see art, and the kids would be down there working on that. And he was real big in all those programs that raised money for kids in the arts, not just painting, but music or whatever. And so, and a very good teacher and well liked by the kids, and died way too young. And so,
That was going to be my next question.
yeah.
He and I retired the same year, and he died a year later after he retired. Mr. Crum would have us go into other teachers' classrooms and observe, and I would go into Brown's because Brown was so innovative. And I would watch almost every time I would be in Brown's room. And Mr. Crum would come running in and say, "Steve, we got to have this by tomorrow. Can you do this?" Yeah. And Steve would say, "Sure," and take it from Mr. Crum. And Mr. Crum would leave, and Steve would look at his 4 best students in the classroom. He'd say, "All right, get it done." And his 4 best kids in the classroom would do it. It was perfect education.
Yeah.
Right.
It was great education.
Yeah.
No, on the elementary side, we always chuckled because it was a disc of some kind, and he was showing one of the elementary classes famous paintings, different styles, and Renaissance and modern art and all this sort of thing. And he was kind of at his desk back there. Well, once the kids start tittering a little bit, and so he looks up. Well, apparently they got into the classic nudes from the 1600s to 1700s, and so they were popping up there on this like a slideshow. And he looks up and he sees that, and so he runs to the machine, and it's a machine he had gotten from Area 7, so he wasn't super familiar with. He's trying to find the button that turns it off. And so we had a lot of fun with that. Talking with Steve about how he's lucky he's still there the next day, But it was like, what, Rubens, the head that painted the news. Just nothing pornographic about it, just beautiful. But it was so we had a lot of fun with that. So but-
and unfortunately, as you know, it sort of was, work sort of, it came out very poorly. When the school ran out of money, you get older, people don't realize the good you were doing.
yeah.
They didn't have the money for Steve to do the good that he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And still he was very good. But about the same time that the school ran out of those millions of dollars, Steve lost his mother, he lost his best friend, he went through a divorce and lost his brother. Wow. And Steve ended up gaining a lot of weight. He was always a smoker. Even the last year of his life, I would drive by his house at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning for a side hack that I have. I work for someone. I get home late, and when I would drive by Steve's house, he would be like a high school kid. He'd be standing next to a window smoking a cigarette, like nobody's gonna see me.
I have
I smoke, right?
Yeah.
I have recess duty about noon, and he would come out and he would park his car over there on Prospect Street. And he'd get in his car for 10 minutes or so, just to smoke a cigarette. Then he'd go back inside. Must have been on his lunch break or something.
Yeah.
But it was just again like kids do in high school when they
Right.
trying to sneak a smoke and so.
Right.
But
But Steve was amazing. You know, it just and one of the ladies that was very active in the arts back then, Ruth Snyder, told me as we started this, she looked at me and she said, "You know, Brown would never want you to do this under his name."
yeah.
You know, he would never want the credit, but Steve deserved a lot of credit.
And
that
I
he
don't
did.
know. When he got so big, and I have seen this in people before, is when they take, sometimes it's steroids or whatever, if they have a certain illness or whatever, and then when he died so young, I wondered if that was all part of it, because he just, you don't get that big just from eating too much or whatever.
Right.
There was something that he was fighting, I always thought, and that he was, because certain medications can make a person balloon up, kidney medications and that kind of stuff. And so I always wondered, because that's what it looked like to me. He just was too round, it wasn't a natural gaining of weight. And so
Right.
I always wondered if that was something that killed him or not, and I don't know if anybody ever knows.
Well, and
But-
he didn't share his pains. Brown was a very private person.
Yeah.
And not talking out of school here. Steve was divorced for 6 months before anybody in town knew.
Yeah.
He just didn't share it.
Yeah.
He didn't want people, knowing that, knowing of his suffering. I was talking to longtime teacher Mike Sinram this past week, and Steve's best friend was Pat Roche. She was a business teacher, and she died of brain cancer. Mike was talking about he went to after the funeral and everybody was gone, Mike stopped at the cemetery where Rose was buried, and Steve was sitting on his car having a cigarette there, at the cemetery in New Hampton where Rose was buried. He just had a lot of suffering at the end of his life. That people didn't know.
Yeah.
And and part of it was, his passion was taken away, sort of. Not in, I'm not blaming anybody. We just ran out of a lot of money.
Right.
Is what happened. So, but that's the birth of the C. Brown Arts Center. Is how it went. And here we are. So. We are tonight at the 100th show, and we're at the sort of at the end of the beginning.
Yeah.
Is where we're at. It is a wonderful thing. You know, we get to talk with our friends quite often. You know, and we're so lucky to do that,
Yes,
Dale. Every Wednesday
And
night.
I've said this before. There are people in this community that are doing really neat things that I had no idea was going on. You know, like Cameron making the guitars and this sort of thing.
Was that
And
the new fella, the fellow on Facebook this past week said he was making guitars? Or-
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
yeah,
Okay.
well,
Yeah.
we both had him in
Here.
class, and he came in and talked about that. And a lot of it he does with a computer. He makes his guitars with a computer, has a computer program. And so I saw him a few months ago, and I said, we'd like to have you come on sometime and show us some of these guitars. And so I think he'd be agreeable.
I think he'd
And
come
we'll
back.
Get to have him come. If we have a music program or songwriting thing, maybe he'd bring some guitars, and I don't know. But yeah, real nice kid. Very
Yeah,
nice
a
man.
lot of things going on locally that people don't know.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the man in the street from, say, the Citizen Herald, right?
Yeah.
There's no cable vision anymore. Or, you know, how do
Yeah.
you get local information?
Yeah, you don't.
Well, and we struggled through that, Mike, and I'm interested. You own two businesses
Yes.
and work for a third business, and
We know well, you have a job too. So, gee,
you know,
Blake has a job.
yeah,
Man.
and you know it is. So how do you advertise? You know, Mickey D's Pizza and Lobster. How do you advertise your? I call it your staining.
Floor
or
sanding.
Floor staining and
Your
everything.
floor staining.
So and it's really funny how it happened for us. I knew nobody. When I came to town, I hung a shingle down here on the car wash. Never got a call, nothing. And happened to run across the local farmer down the bottom of the hill there, and what do you do? And I told him what I did. Next thing you know, he's in church over in Gilbertville, and he's talking to a guy that runs a business over in Cedar Falls. And next thing I know, one thing leads to another. I'm getting phone calls. I try to do anyways. I try to make a product that you'll remember, that you'll like, and it's correct, right? And just simply, that's all I've done. That's it. And with Mickey D's, it was really a fascinating thing for me. Is I tried to bring a little Boston here, and you've had the pizza. I think you've had
Yeah.
it too, Dale. It's a little different than what you get here.
Yeah.
And I tried to make an amount that was a little bit excessive, so to speak, and that people would remember. And boy, I'll tell you, I'm all booked for 2025.
Wow.
I did my first wedding October 5th. I've already got calls for 2 more weddings. And it's all been by word of mouth and a little bit of Facebook. I just put my Facebook page out there, and I'll get a comment on my Facebook page. Hey, we're going to do something over in Owine. I got this for December 6th. Something I kind of looked at it, but really didn't. Would you like to come? And I get a lot of that. But my concern is, how do we, not a concern, my question is, how do we get local news? I don't even know what happened with the recycling. I have no idea, and I wasn't going to put
Right.
there on
Yeah.
the spot.
Right.
But, the only place I know where to find out about whatever is like a Facebook page.
Yeah, Jesup happenings.
Yeah.
Yep.
right.
Yep.
And there's like 2 or 3 people that dominate that. You might be familiar with them. I'm not sure, but I either get missing cat, found a dog, kid running down 6th Street in his car too loud, or somebody's dog is on the loose. But what about the other stuff? What's going on at the school? how many people knew that we were going to a football game that we were in playoffs for the second year in a row. I had no idea. But how do we get that local news out there?
Media is dying a horrific death. Newspapers are failing everywhere. Where the newspapers now are here. Very few people, and I'm pointing over there, but Kelly always has the Independence Bulletin Journal over there.
Mm-hmm.
And it says read in 25,000 houses, I
Yeah.
believe. But I talked to John about that.
No, it's more like 7,000.
Yeah.
We deliver to 25,000.
But no, they're on here too.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So people are reading on here.
Well, my kids in Des Moines, they take the Des Moines Register Thursday, Friday, Sunday. That's the smallest package they can get. Hardly ever even unfold the paper, but because they have a subscription, they get to go online and read the Des Moines Register every day.
Yep.
Right.
And so that's how they're supporting the newspaper, but they're not reading the newspaper. They're reading all the news the newspaper has just on their phones because that's the way they get their news. And so when I go down there, I pick up their papers and bring them back to Jesup for the Methodist to roll. So, and many of them are still in the back. They haven't, because they don't need to open it up and read it. They read it all online. So yeah, it's a crazy different world. But I was going to say if it came up or something, but I was looking at the October 26th Bulletin Journal, and I think everybody, before you vote, you ought to read. There's several different articles on the editorial page that are very interesting, and had a lot of information that I had not seen just exactly that way before. So
Okay.
I thought I'd throw that because I think they do a good job. It's amazing to me that they don't have a lot of Jesup advertisers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if the Jesup advertisers supported them a little bit more, maybe there would be, because now it's pretty much the sports and the city council minutes and that sort of thing. So
What is this that you're reading?
it's the Independence newspaper.
Oh, okay.
Independence
Bulletin
Bulletin Journal.
Yeah, there's a copy over there. You can look at it. But they have tried. They print all the Jesup government, the city council minutes and that sort of thing. The school minutes that by law have to be printed. They're doing that job now that the local paper used to do. Yeah.
See, I may be speaking out of school here as I tell you this, but I think before
It's called growjesup.com.
Yeah,
Okay.
Kelly talks about follow growjesup.com for events here in town.
Okay.
Thank you, Kelly. I believe a group of people or the city and some businesses together have made a deal with the Bulletin Journal where they have so much from Jesup in there every week.
Mm-hmm.
I believe a deal was made.
Okay.
Because we don't have that newspaper, and older people like myself and easy Dale,
Yeah.
don't attack me. I've got ESPN Dale.
I know,
I
yeah.
can.
Yeah.
You have ESPN too, and Mike's got the magazines.
Yeah.
But I believe a deal has been made where a certain amount of the newspaper is dedicated to Jesup.
Okay.
Every
For
week.
a certain amount of money, then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I believe.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So I believe there's a sponsor. I just don't know who it is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
Would you guys entertain, maybe I could send something to your face page, question of the week, or, we've got some pretty big things coming up here in the next few weeks, the election, right?
Yeah.
And for topics of conversation, and maybe we could do what Kelly's doing here, and and you could, have, hopefully, bring in more interest from the town, and maybe get some more things about what's going on in the town.
So
Have you
and
thought about something like that?
yeah, well, just recently, Blake has started to put this up for us, and so Blake, Mike can send you questions like that for the community like that, and we can have those up and talk about those.
Yeah, it'd be great. I mean, this is a great forum, you know, you get people out there. Like I said, I had no idea. I still don't have any idea. I live out of town. I had no idea what's going on over there. I live in Jesup, but I'm not part of the town.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a unique thing for me. I've never understood that kind of deal. I've got to go to Gilbertville to vote.
Yeah.
I pay my taxes to Blackhawk County.
Right.
I never see a police officer out by my house, but again, I live in Jesup.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
That's your mail address is Jesup?
yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
And yeah.
Those are way different things, you know.
I know.
But are you in the Jesup School District?
Yes.
Okay, we get your money that way then. So thank
Is that
you.
how you get my money?
Thank you very much. Yes.
Okay.
In Blackhawk County, they pay much higher taxes than Buchanan County, so we appreciate all you Blackhawk
Oh,
County
you're
people.
killing
See, yeah.
Well, here's the other thing, which I just found out about with my food trailer. Do you know that we talk about a 7% food tax, right? But really, it's only 6 that goes to the state. 1% of that goes to whatever county
Yeah.
you're working in.
Sure.
So I did the Buchanan County Fair.
Right.
I live in Blackhawk.
Mm-hmm.
I did Waterloo Days. I went up to Grundy Center. So I'm sending 1% of the money all over the state,
Mm-hmm.
and it contributes to that. I live in Jesup, but way outside of Jesup.
Yeah.
But you know,
Yeah.
it's just nothing is to me uniform.
Yeah. Well, I've heard that like if you're a professional baseball player,
Mm-hmm.
so if you play in New York 6 games, then that percentage of your salary is taxed by New York, and then you go to Massachusetts to play at Boston so many times, and so these guys are paying income tax to
All
all
over the
these
country.
different. Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
I always thought they must have a hell of an accountant to keep track of all that stuff. And so is that right? Yeah.
I tell you how this works, and I've never done this. You know, I drive truck and deliver tuxedos in Illinois and Missouri and Iowa. And, you know, once in a great while, I'll go to Kansas or Nebraska. But here's the funny thing: if I wanted to, because I'm going to be laid off here pretty soon. They just don't have the inventory go out in the wintertime that they do in the summertime. I could file for unemployment in every state that I deliver in if
Oh my!
I wanted to.
Isn't that amazing?
Really?
I
Yeah.
could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Don't
Yeah.
downplay that penny, because that penny pays. I mean, we haven't had a bond. We had a bond issue for the original elementary school up here, but then all that stuff's built onto it. All been done without a bond issue. It's all been done with that penny tax and a pebble tax and that sort of thing. It's amazing. I think Waterloo's going to build that. How many millions of dollars worth of high school if that passes, all with that penny tax? They don't have to have a bond issue, and so it really does add up.
So my money that I send to Blackhawk, they send back to Jesup High School or Jesup School. No.
No, that's just no. That's that's you pay through your property tax.
Okay.
If you get your property tax, there's a list at the bottom of who's taxing you and how much. And
Okay.
and probably you get it says Blackhawk County is going to get so much, but then the Jesup Community School District is going to get so much. And so
Is
that's
that the only benefit? I was trying to get it out of Chris,
Yeah.
but is that my only benefit of living in Jesup?
yeah. Well, having a Jesup address has nothing to do with living in Jesup.
Right.
It's all the mail. It's just because we had kids at school up here, and they had a Brandon address, they had Fairbank address, they had Waterloo address. The post office and the school district boundaries, they have nothing to do with each other. And so,
Right.
yeah. So some elections, like you cannot vote for the mayor of Jesup, but you can vote for a school board. in Jesup because you live in the Jesup school district. So sometimes you'll get to vote on Jesup things, and other times you don't. But you can raise hell in Waterloo if you want to, because you can vote in Blackhawk County. See, so
We are pushing the 2-hour mark here, you
Okay,
guys.
all right.
So
Well, we got one more big
What-
thing on the table, I'm sure.
All right.
It's happening next Tuesday.
we do have what is that the college football playoffs come out next Tuesday. Is that what it is?
Yeah. No, it's the leftover meal at the Littleton Chatham
Oh.
Society chili dinner.
Yeah.
Right?
The Historical Society.
Right, yes.
Yeah, yes. I believe you're probably talking about the presidential election.
Yes, I am.
And so Micah, if you since you live in Blackhawk County, out toward the casino, you may or may not be a betting man. Would
Well, yeah.
are you a betting man when it comes to this election?
Sure. I'm guessing one side of the table, all one of us, are on one side of the aisle, and the other side of the table, all three of you, are on the other side. But yes, I am a betting man. I would tell you, I think my side will win next week.
Yeah. Are you talking just the presidency here? Are you talking the House and the Senate?
I think, and do we have private security? Am I going to be able to get out of the building?
sure.
Yeah.
I think we're yearning for a change. There's a lot of things that are going on, and maybe it's because I think that way, but I think we're yearning for a change right now, Jim. Younger folks, they're not able to save any money. I mean, you're basically spending whatever you've got. All right, people are financially hurting. Okay, I think that there's a lot of things that have gone on in boy, I mean, this could go on for 3 hours. There's a lot of things that have gone on that a lot of people in the country, it's different to them. It's unusual. It's not what they want, right? And the people that are in charge right now are saying, well, they've gone on, but I'm not really I didn't do that, but but you did do that, right? Whoever's at the head of the boat, driving the boat, you got to take ownership of that, right? And I feel as though she's trying to walk away from that. You did it, you said it, you believed it, but now you're saying you don't. Okay? I think I travel all the time. I was in Pennsylvania this week. I was in North Carolina this week. I was in New York this week. I travel all around the country, and that is all you hear about is I can't afford a mortgage. Money's really tight. Food costs are expensive. I'm not so much worried about these other things that they're talking about. I'm worried about these things. Personally, I don't like the guy. I don't like Trump, personally. I like what he did for me. I do like Biden, but I don't like what he's done to me. So I don't want more of that. And so maybe it's hope. That's what I'm hoping for. And because I hope for it, that's what I'm believing is happening. But I drove from Pittsburgh to the middle of Pennsylvania. And I would say, who was I talking to today? I was talking to somebody. It was a 20-1. Blue sign versus red sign. And it was distinctive. And in North Carolina, the same way. I have friends that are in the city, in New York, and they're the same way. And it might be because we assimilate in the same crowds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But you drive into Waterloo, it's totally opposite, right? So I'm I've got my fingers crossed. I know you guys might not, but I do. I like the way I lived 4 years ago. I don't like the way I'm living now.
Would. So, no, I think Chris Even would be a better president than Donald Trump.
Okay.
I mean, he has every character trait he has, I just hate. I cannot stand the things he says, the things he does, and he's just a pompous orange jackass as far as I'm concerned, and I cannot vote for him.
But it's personal. You don't
It's
like him
personal. Personally, I don't like him, and well, policy-wise, I don't like him either. He has no, he was going to redo Obamacare. He was working on it. And you see clips that in 2015, they're working on this plan. Then you go to 18 and 19 and 20, and now still today, well, he's working on it. So he's got a concept. He has no idea of how he's going to replace that insurance program, whether it should be replaced or not. He doesn't. He has no idea. He has no plan. He has no policies at all. He just, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And you say, no, you can't do that. You cannot just say, I'm going to do that. That's not the way our government works. And so, I don't want to fight with anybody, but I can't stand the man.
But this
and
is
so,
a great place to agree to disagree.
no, I
And
understand.
think
Yeah,
we-
and
we-
I think
we-
I think that's important. you
Yeah,
know.
and I think we had this discussion, Jim and I. We no longer can agree to disagree with one another.
Yeah. So,
Right? I think like I do, you think like you do. I think maybe you're wrong in some things, and you think maybe I'm wrong in some things. But we can walk out here,
Well, sure,
go get a
yeah.
beer and a pizza, and talk. We've gotten to a point, I think, in this country where most people can't do that.
yeah. My first political experience, and I must have been, it'd be around 8 or 9 years old. And I was at my grandfather's, and he was in his 90s, and he was reading a newspaper, and it was election time, Eisenhower against Adlai Stevenson. So my grandfather opens up the newspaper, and there's a full-size picture of Adlai Stevenson. My grandfather spits in his face, wads up the newspaper, and throws it in the fire. And that was my first experience with hate in politics. And I don't know why he didn't like the Democrat, but he did not like Adlai Stevenson. So it's nothing new. If you read about the names they called Lincoln when he was running for president, a baboon and all this sort of thing.
Sure.
So it's been there forever. But there's got to be a way of having discourse and not agreeing on everything, but still at the end still have a country left, and that's what I'm wanting. Is to still that in 4 years whoever's president will leave. And another president will come in like it always has done, and there'll be good wishes all around, and hopefully the country will do well. So
Here's the issue, and it doesn't have to do with Trump, or it doesn't have to do with Biden or Harris. Here's the problem, is back in the last election, Obama had the chance to put in a Supreme Court justice, and Grassley defended that until the Republican was put in, until Trump won.
Talking about Merrick Allen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you go there. And the Republicans aren't the only ones that do that. If there's a Republican president, the Democrats do the same thing.
Oh yeah, they're
Yeah.
all trying for their side versus the other
It's
side.
all
I get it,
it's all playing defense. So there is an issue with that. You gotta go back to when, a little closer to when Mike and I were younger than when you were younger, Dale. Nixon might even classify as a Democrat today. I mean.
Well, how about the days of Reagan and Tip O'Neill sitting down for a beer,
yeah.
right? I mean, there is none of that. I'm sorry. There is none of that civility anymore. Everybody's a Nazi, or he's a this, or she's a that, or whatever. We've got to get back to being civil with one another.
Yeah.
Right?
It's so hard in this election because Harris is the vice president. Well, everybody knows that vice presidents don't do anything. They just stand in the corner and wait for the president to die, or in case there's a tie in the Senate. That's the only. But then when she's running, she says, "Well, yeah, we."
Right.
Joe and I did this policy, that policy, this sort of thing, and then the Republicans saying she did this and she did that and she did this other horrible thing, and she didn't do anything really, because she's the vice president. It's like a bucket of warm spit, one of them said, being vice president. Yeah. And so, but the way they have to talk. She has to say, yes, Joe and I did these wonderful things, and they have to say, she did all these terrible things, and really she didn't do anything. She just was vice president. So.
Yep. We got to get out of here, you
It
guys.
might be a ball game on.
7-11.
Fellas, I mean, is your side going to win on Tuesday?
The National? Yeah, I think it's going to be like it was in 2020. I think the people are going to vote for sanity, I guess. And so you have the conservatives and then you have the good people. And I think they're going to come out and vote for the good people, don't you think?
We will not know. We will not know until probably
I'm betting Friday.
the week of Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay.
The week of Thanksgiving. That long, because there will be recounts. There will be there will be a number of
they're supposed to count several million votes, but they passed a law they have to hand count them.
Yeah, they have to hand count.
Georgia, they have to hand count the ballots. Anything. There's several million. That takes a lot of time.
When you grew up as a kid, they could make all of these counts. You had one day to vote. There was no early voting.
Yeah, right.
No, but very few. They didn't have the numbers, though, Mike, that they do now. The last election, 156 million people voted. Generally, maybe, 30%. Go back then, it was 30% of 150 million. Not even 150, 30% of 150 million. 45 million votes. That's a lot fewer votes to count.
Yeah.
Well, I hope we're both happy. All four of us are happy next Tuesday.
There you go.
Well, all you can do is hope for the best.
Yeah.
And I hope it's all peaceful.
Me too.
Because, once a country starts rioting all the time after election, then you're no better than Central America or whatever, and then you're spiraling out of sight. And so, I just hope everybody say, okay, this is what happened. Here's the numbers. Let's accept it and move on. And then, if we don't like it, in 4 years you get to try again.
There you go.
And he's still my president.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Right? Or she's still my president.
Yeah.
So. All right. Well, if you'd like to donate to the Steve Brown Arts Center and have an idea for an event, go to the Steve Brown Arts Center.org and follow the link. If you have news or would like to sponsor us, email us at jim@stevebrownartscenter.org or call 319-290-0241 or tackle Dale on the street. I want to thank the many guests we had tonight. I want to thank Mike, Blake, and Dale for tonight. I'm Jim Gillespie, and as always, thanks to Kelly C. Haas and Cowork 591 for having us. Thanks to the audience for allowing us to be with them for 100 shows and having these stray dogs into your day. Good night to Teresa, Katie, to Jodine, to Chris, to Heather, to Joy, to Kara, to Alex, to Brady, Brody, Kelly, Tony, Gila, Clementine, Jasmine, Uncle Les, Aunt Gladys, Kara, Mahmoud, and Paul. Good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are.
So those are your secret love children?
No.
Good night, John Boy.
Good night, John Boy. Good night.
And remember,
what's
life all about?
Each day is about little victories.
There you go.
Amen.